It's just a lot of content. So like I remember in year 12 when people were like, oh, you do bio, that's a content heavy subject. It's like, nothing in the HSC is content heavy. You get to uni and you're like, why did people say that was content heavy? I know so many schools are like ridiculously strict about uniforms to the point where they don't care if you're actually getting an education. They just care about the length of your skirt and if your shirt's tucked in. Hey guys, so welcome to another video in my little study area space thing. So since a lot of you guys are in high school or going into uni, one of the questions I get asked a lot is things related to uni, like what I wish I knew or what uni is like, or just starting uni type of things. So I thought I would make a uni versus high school kind of video and just talk about the differences between uni versus high school. In terms of what I wish I knew, there's not really anything that I wish I knew. Like there's nothing like that stands out to me that I'm like, oh, I wish I knew it worked like that because then I would have done this differently. Like there's nothing like that. It's just very different, and you kind of have to not know things and like work it out and learn it as you experience it, because that's just, you know, life. So all of these things are with my experience going to uni. I know uni is very different for everyone and for different countries as well. Like in America, for example, I'm pretty sure it's just like the norm for people to graduate school and then go to college, and like they leave home and stay, you know, in a dorm on a college campus, and that's like the norm. In Australia, it's not, you know, not everybody goes to uni. Like everyone does completely different things. Some people go to uni, some people go to TAFE, some people start working, some people just work part-time jobs. Everyone does completely different things. It's not really, you know, what every single person does. Like I know so many people who've done a lot of different things. Most people I know that have finished school are now at uni, but yeah, it's not like a thing like in other countries. And everyone has very different experiences because, like, for example, pretty much most of the people I know that I'm close with have gone to a uni near them, and they, well, not exactly near them, they might have to travel 2 hours, but they live at home and go to uni kind of like it was at school. But obviously some people leave home and they go to a uni far away, or they might stay on a campus, and my uni does have campuses for people who come from far away or are international students, you know, kind of like the borders in Jamaica. Not really, but basically they leave home to go to uni, and a lot of people move out. But for my experience, I'm at home still going to uni. So yeah, these are just the differences that I've experienced between high school and uni in Australia. So I don't really know where to start because there's lots and lots of differences. Okay, I'll start with hours. So school is obviously like 9 to 3, so it's a 6-hour day, but obviously you'd probably be there earlier. Like I used to get there a lot earlier, and then obviously during the later years of school when you're studying, you might be staying later. And obviously school's 5 days a week. With uni, it's obviously very different from that. So you're not there as often. You don't have to go in every day of the week, and the hours are very different as well. So how it works is you basically have, maybe I should start with how classes work. So at school you obviously just have your classes, like you go to class and you have classes for each different subject. Uni is different. It has lectures and tutorials. So lectures are obviously when you go sit in the big lecture theatre and you watch the lecture, which is presented by a lecturer, and then you take your notes, and most people do that on a computer these days. And then you also have tutorials, which are basically kind of like classes like at school. It's like the same type of setting, like environment, but they're not really like your classes at school because you don't actually kind of know everyone in the class or your teacher that well. But it is like a class. So they're the two types of things that you do at uni. And the hours and days that you have these on differ. So how it works for my uni, at least, I go to Sydney. For a full-time student at my uni, you do 4 subjects a semester, and in those 4 subjects each has a lecture or 2 a week, and the lectures go for 2 hours. So if there's 4 2-hour lectures a week, they might be on the same day. So you might have 2 lectures on a Monday, and then you only have 2 left, so maybe you only have to go in 3 days a week for those lectures. Your classes at my uni, you get to choose preferences, so they have options that you can select, and you get to choose which day you do classes. And basically classes are just a 2-hour class or tutorial for each of those 4 subjects. So you can arrange it so you fit everything into like 2 really long days, depending on when the set times of lectures are. You might start class or lectures at 8 AM in the morning, and you might finish really early in the day, or the latest lectures and classes I've had finish at 5 p.m. so the hours are very different and they're very flexible, so you can pick like what days you go in and what days you don't go in at all, and you can pick what times your classes are. You might not necessarily get what you pick because maybe too many people are trying to get into the same class, but I have always gotten the preferences that I've put down, touch wood. Another thing is with uni and going to class, it's not actually compulsory for most classes and for lectures. So I know quite a few people who don't go to lectures at all, and they are all recorded and you can watch them online. I go to all my lectures unless I can't because I have something that I need to go to or can't miss, and then I'll just rewatch the lecture after. Obviously it's much better to go and do it in person, and then sometimes I still have to rewatch lectures after even though I've gone in person because there is so much content and it's so fast, and some of the subjects I do are quite difficult like anatomy and neuroscience, so it takes a lot of study and extra work. But yeah, you don't actually need to go in for them, like you won't get in trouble, so it's not compulsory. But there are some compulsory classes and they mark the roll, but half the time they really don't mark the roll, and sometimes they just have a sheet and you sign your name and people just get other people to sign their name for them if they don't go. So it's really like random because some people just, I don't know, they're just not there and you don't know them. So basically hours and days, it's not a normal 5-day week, it's much more flexible. You don't have to go in every day, and that allows you to actually have more of a life, because like obviously when you're at school, school's kind of like your whole life at that point, but when you're at uni, uni is not your whole life. People have a job, people, you know, are doing things, and so you are able to like have more of a life outside of uni. However, you do need to be doing more study and work outside of the actual contact hours because, well, yeah, that's what you're meant to be doing. So the amount of like content and like heavy hard content you're given in that time, like in a lecture for example, you have to kind of work through that in your own time at the end because, well, in my degree at least, like you wouldn't, it's hard stuff. That is kind of the concept of having less time at uni. You're meant to do more outside of uni, but most people don't. On that note, in terms of the content that you learn, oh my gosh, the biggest difference that I found with school and uni was the amount of content in like the like how much we learn in like one lecture, like 1 2-hour lecture is, I reckon, like at least 2 weeks of like what you would do in a subject in high school. Like for example in PE, what we do in 2 weeks is done in one lecture. Like just so much content, like it's heavy content and they rush through it so fast. Like what I like to try and do is, because in my uni at least, and I think most unis do this, they put up the lecture slides the day before the lecture for example, and I'll try and type up the lecture slides before the lecture, because then during the lecture I'm going to try and type what they say and kind of read it and understand it and get taught it, and they say so much information in one go that you're just like, it's just too much to absorb in one go. And that's one of the biggest things that I didn't like about uni. I really missed how at school your teacher would have, you know, your class, and there might be, for example, in like senior years, 20 of you maybe, and they would basically teach a concept and they wouldn't really move on until everyone understood it. And if you didn't get something, you would put your hand up and like she would explain it to you in as many ways as she needed to, or he needed to, if you had a good teacher at least. But with uni, it's not like that. If you don't get a concept, too bad. 2 minutes later there's a new concept. You're gonna have to go home later and find a textbook and try and teach yourself something. Like there's nobody there that's going through something slowly and making sure everybody understands something and making sure everybody's like needs are catered to. It's very like just here's heaps of content. It's what they call self-directed learning. It's just a lot of content. So like I remember in year 12 when people were like, oh, you do bio, that's a content heavy subject. It's like nothing in the HSC is content heavy. You get to uni and you're like, why did people say that was content heavy? Another reason why it's so much content in such a short amount of time isn't just because, you know, of the amount of knowledge you need to have a qualification, partly because, you know, it's all squished into such a short amount of classes each week. But the other thing that's different about uni are the holiday periods. So at school you have 4 terms there, well in Australia at least, we have 4 terms, they're 10 weeks each, and then you have 2-week holidays between them, except between term 1 and 4 over the new year, there's the big summer holidays, which is 6 weeks. Most unis have 2 semesters, so they're 2 big chunk semesters. In between, in the middle of the year, you have a 6-week holiday break, and then after the 2 semesters that year, there's like a 3-month or 12-week break between the years. So I like that so much better. It's so good. Oh, thank God it's gone. So this is something I like so much better, just having 2 big chunks. I call them 16-week semesters because they go for 16 weeks, but they're actually 13-week semesters, and they don't count the 3 weeks at the end where there's exams, but like you're still at uni, you're in exams, you're doing more work than throughout the actual semester. So I think it's 16 weeks, but basically they're 13 weeks. Then you get 1 week off called StuVac, which is like the study vacation week, and that's in week 14, and then there's 2 weeks of exams, and then the last exams at the end of week 16, and that's a semester. And so there's 2 big semesters a year, and then a lot more holiday time, which is amazing. That's the best bit. Another thing that's very different about uni is when you do a degree, for example, it's very flexible. You can defer a year or a semester, and like, you know, you can't do that at school. You can't be like, you know what, I don't want to do year 11 next year, I'll have a year off and do it the year after. Like that obviously doesn't happen at school, but at uni you can defer a year and extend your degree, stretch it out. Obviously a lot of people just want to get it done as fast as they can, but for some people they'd rather just take their time. They might be working, they might want to travel, you know, they might have no clue what they're doing and just need some time to slow down in their degree so they can find out what they like. Most people don't know what they're doing, including myself. And the other thing is you can do less subjects. This semester I'm doing 3 subjects instead of 4 because I don't want to do 4. I just want to be able to, I'm just a very anxious person, and I stress too much. And last year I did uni full time, and I just like went into HSE mode again, and it was just like, no. So I'm doing 3 subjects instead of 4. It's still considered full time, but I might take an extra half a year to finish a degree, or I might have to catch up on a subject in like the summer holidays or something. Yeah. So with uni, you don't actually get like homework given to you. It's not like school where you get homework and you get in trouble from your teacher if you don't do the homework that's set for you. It's very self-directed, as I said, but you kind of have to do your own, not homework, but it is homework because it's work at home. And that's what you're supposed to do. Many people don't do that, but that's something I do because I know that's the way you do well at something, and also the way you prevent yourself from having a big stress. Literally the other day our lecturer had our introduction lecture for a new subject, and he was saying how, because there's a lot of like, obviously same as high school, like for the HSC, there's all those like, you know, Facebook group pages where people like make memes about how hard subjects are or whatever, and apparently he was like, this subject has so many people posting like right before exams how hard the subject is, and he was like, I literally can see the downloads on the lectures on his computer, and he was like, I can literally tell you they didn't turn up to any lectures and they just downloaded like 20 hours of lectures 2 days before the exam. So like obviously they're going to struggle. So the way you prevent yourself from having a huge meltdown before the exam and from struggling is to just stay on top of things and learn it as you go, instead of waiting till like the week before the exam and downloading 10 weeks worth of lectures to watch. And that's just ridiculous. Like your brain can't, it doesn't have that capacity to really understand and learn something like that. With teachers, that's another thing that's very different from school. So at school you obviously had a small class with a teacher who you'd probably had all throughout high school, and you knew them well and they knew you well, and you had a relationship with them, like you knew them. Some of the teachers had taught you since you were 12. You know, they know you and they know how you learn, and they know how you study, and they know if you're like an anxious person, or you know, they know who you are. But at uni, you know, your lecturers don't know you, and they don't get to know you unless you like actually go and like, you know, reach out to them if you need extra help, which like a lot of people do. But like the amount of people that do uni, that's another thing that's different sizes. So at school, for example, my school, most schools have about 1,000 people. I know it's so different, some schools are tiny and some are big, but on average I'm pretty sure most schools have about 1,000 to 2,000 people. Wait, if there's 200 in each year and there's 6 years, no, there's like 1,000. So for example, my school, we had 180 kids in the year, in year 12, and 180 kids that you'd been with for 7 years, you knew everyone pretty much. Like not well, but you knew who everyone was, and you knew most people pretty well. But at uni, there's hundreds and hundreds of people and you don't really know them. Like, you know a few people and there's a lot of familiar faces, but you literally don't know many people. It's just so much bigger, so much bigger. And ages as well. It's not just, you know, people that have finished school and started uni. There are people of all ages. There are people who are like mature age students. There are people who are like old people that are deciding they want to go back to uni and study something new. Like, legit, there are people with grey hair and glasses. Like, there are not many, but there are all ages, like so many different people. At my uni, there's also a lot of international students. Like, there's a lot of like Asian students. But yeah, with your teachers, you don't really get to know them. Like, you kind of know them, but they literally don't know you, and you only know them from like, you know, like their lectures. And also the classes that you have are run by tutors that are different from the lecturer. So obviously the lecturer gives a lecture to hundreds of people in a theatre, and then there's heaps of different separate classes, and they're run by like heaps of random different tutors. And some of the tutors we did get to know well. Like in anatomy, my little group of girls at uni, we got to know a few of our tutors, and it would be like, yes, we love that tutor. And like one of our lecturers from last year we love, and he doesn't know who we are because that's just how uni works. Like, it's just too many people to really have a good, you know, connection with the teacher like you would in school. With making friends, it's not really like a big deal like at school. Like, you need a group at school because you sit together every lunch, every recess, you could go through school with them. At uni, like, I'm very lucky to have a group of friends at uni, and we, like, I don't know how we all became friends. We just kind of, we became friends through having classes together, and we'll sit together in our lectures, and then like and then we'll study together in the breaks at the library. If we have a really long day and we want to go and sit out on the grass and have lunch, we'll sit together. But I'm so lucky that I have a group, and quite a few people do, but so many people just don't make friends at uni. They only kind of go in when they have to, but they don't like go to lectures, they don't make friends. And it's not like school. Like, you don't have to have friends. It's not like it's a thing where everyone falls into some type of friend group or makes some type of friends. Like, if you don't go out of your way to like kind of make a friend, yeah, like, it's not like a given. It's not like school where you know you'll have friends, like, because you're gonna have to sit with someone at lunch. Like, if you don't go out there and make friends, it's different from school like that. Like, you don't need to have friends. Like, a lot of people just sit in lectures just by themselves and then go home. Like, there's no lunch or recess that you have to be there for. But most people find their people. Most people have their little group and they sit with them. I don't know if they're actually close with them or friends with them outside of uni, but yeah. Another thing that's different is getting help from your teacher. So obviously at school, in your class, you can just ask for help, or you might go at recess or lunch or before school if you need help with something. But at uni, some people will wait till after a lecture and go and ask a question, but you pretty much don't have time to do that, because often, you know, after a lecture you have a class straight after or another lecture straight after, because mostly just bunched up into one day so that you don't need to go that many days a week. But the way you contact and talk to your teachers isn't really in person. You pretty much do that over email. So you have your university email, and that's the way that all teachers work. All the tutors and lecturers contact and talk to you by, and you can set up times to talk to them, but you can't really just go and talk to them. They're so busy. You have to like email them and arrange a time, like a meeting time with them. So yeah, it is kind of an effort to go and get help from a teacher. It's not like at school where like you're like, oh, I'll just ask tomorrow, I'm not sure about something. Like, it's an effort to get help. So that's why it's very self-directed. Like, you'd prefer to just find a textbook or Google something and find it yourself. But most tutors are really good at replying to their emails and quite helpful. So another thing that's different is the size. So with school, you obviously have your school, and there's the playground or the oval, or like both, and you might have a big school but you still know your whole school. Like, besides like the first like week of year 7 where it seems so big to you, like, you know the entire school. But with uni, like, you can easily get lost on a campus. It's ridiculous. Like, it's so big. There's also more than one campus. So like, for example, my uni has a few different campuses, and my degree is held over 2 campuses. So some days I'll be at the main campus in the city, and then some days I'll be at Cumberland. And I'm starting my 2nd year of uni this year, and I still don't know the whole campus. I don't think you can ever know the whole campus. Like, it's so big, and there's so many different classrooms and lecture theatres, and you get different ones for all your subjects. Another thing that's different is uniform. So obviously at school, most schools, at least my school, did have uniforms, and you have to wear a uniform. I know so many schools are like really ridiculously strict about uniforms, to the point where they don't care if you're actually getting an education. They just care about the length of your skirt and if your shirt's tucked in. I was very lucky that my school didn't really care about uniform that much. Like, there were some teachers who were like, go and get a uniform pass if, you know, you had rainbow socks on. But my school was pretty awesome. Like I could wear like Nikes or what I wanted, and there's no length of your skirt that you needed to have. My school was very good like that. But you still needed a uniform, and obviously uni, you can wear whatever the hell you want. You can literally you could wear anything and nobody cares. Like no one cares. There are like merch, like I have a Sydney Uni hoodie. I don't know, it's probably lame to have, but I don't really care. It's really comfy and I thought it looked nice, so it's really good actually. It's so comfy. But it's not actually a uniform, it's just like merch. Another thing that's different is like comparing your marks. Like at school, when you got an assessment or exam back, you know how everyone would compare their marks and like you'd find out what you were ranked, and people would be like, oh, like did you come first, or like what did you get, or like people were like that. And then there'd be people who were really secretive of their marks. At uni, like you're literally the only one that knows your mark. You get it sent to you via email and it's on your little like profile, which you're the only person that can see, and like you might share it with your close uni friends group, but like literally nobody asks. It's really weird. Like no one asks. Like even my close group at uni, like they don't actually ask, like unless we tell each other. No one is the one that's like, what did you guys get? Because it's, I don't know, people get all offended about that question. But yeah, so like it's really like not competitive or comparative in that way. Like people aren't trying to like beat each other. No one's comparing their marks, especially because uni is just not like school. Like it's not your life. Like some people, you know, they care a lot about getting a good mark. They might need a good mark to get into a master's or to get into medicine or something like that. But a lot of people, they just want to pass. It's really not comparative. Everyone has their own, you know, journey and their own, you know, way they do uni and their own goals. So it is very individual, and yeah, it's pretty cool like that. Another thing that's very different about uni are fees. So with school, I went to a public school, so I'm pretty sure it's not compulsory to pay school fees. But you have your school fees each year. I don't really know how that works because obviously you're a kid and most people's parents pay. Not everyone does. I'm very lucky though that my parents were able to just pay my school fees. But I didn't go to a private school or something where it's just like, you know, a lot of money. That's very different from uni, which is very expensive. So it costs around $1,000 for each subject, and you take about 8 subjects a year. My degree, for example, is $9,000 a year, and it's a 3-year degree, so that's like $27,000. When you look up your uni and it has like the ATAR you need to get into subjects and all of that jazz, it also has the cost. And they are expensive. It's around $30,000 for a 3-year undergraduate degree. Some degrees are like $50,000, like if you do a master's and stuff like that. It is ridiculous. And you don't have to pay up front. So what most people do is take a HECS debt out. I think it's like a loan, but basically they get a HECS debt. What happens is basically once you finish your degree and then you get a job after, when you start earning a certain amount of money, the uni will take some of the money that you earn to pay back the debt that you have from your degree. I know that you only have to start paying back your HECS debt once you start earning a certain amount of money. So if you never earn a huge amount of money, then you might never have to pay the HECS debt back. But it is a ridiculous amount of money. It's so silly. Like education should not cost that much money. It's actually crazy. Another thing that's different is everyone has different reasons to be at uni, or they have different goals, or they're studying, you know, they don't know what they're doing. So it's very individualized and different for different people. Like for example, with my degree, I study sports and exercise science, and the first year of the degree is the same for physios, occupational therapists, radiographers, and then in the second year some of the subjects differ for different courses, and then in the third year obviously it differs even more and you pick electives and stuff like that. Don't ask me how that works because I have no idea. Some people are doing this degree just to do this degree. Some people are doing it to get into something else. You know, they might not have got the marks for physio. Some people might do a master's after this degree in something else. Like for example, I might do that because I don't know what I want to do, and I'm considering doing a master's in maybe nutrition and dietetics or PE teaching. I really don't know, but everyone has their own kind of path they're doing. It's not really, you know, it's not like school where everyone's just doing the same thing to get a HSC. Everyone's got different outcomes, and yeah, it's very individual. That's everything on my list and that I can think of right now. There's honestly definitely so much more stuff that's very different about uni. I'm thinking of stuff as I finish now, but this video is going to be way too long if I keep rambling on, so I'm going to end this here. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this was helpful and kind of you know, you learned something new and you weren't like, yeah, obviously that's all obvious. I hope this was kind of like different. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate the support. If you did like this video, please give it a like and subscribe. That would really mean a lot. I upload every Wednesday and Sunday, so I hope to see you in the next one.